Carlos Alcaraz just took the microphone in Doha and dropped a statement that sent a cold shiver through the entire locker room. Every single player is chasing me. I can feel them right on my heels, scrambling to close the gap. They are dissecting my game. They are analyzing every single move I make. They treat me like a science project, trying to find a way to break me, to take me down. That wasn't arrogance speaking. It was just the cold, hard truth. And here is the reality. Carlos Alcaraz has become the most analyzed specimen in professional tennis history. Forget Djokovic. Forget Sinner. Opponents are burning the midnight oil, watching his tapes. Coaches are building entire blueprints just to survive him. Players are completely reinventing their styles just to stay on the court with him, and it is failing miserably. Just look at Alex de Minaur. He got absolutely annihilated 7-5, 6-2, 6-1 at the Australian Open. When asked for a solution, he was speechless. His response? I have no clue. You tell me. That is the world number 6 basically waving a white flag. Sound off in the comments. Have you ever witnessed a 22-year-old holding this kind of power? Let's set the record straight. What we are seeing on the ATP Tour isn't just greatness. It is uncharted territory. Alcaraz has engineered a puzzle that simply has no solution. Craig O'Shaughnessy, the data mastermind behind Djokovic's reign, didn't mince words. He said there is zero malfunction in the kid's machinery. No loose screws, no engine trouble. And inside his head, he is bulletproof. Then O'Shaughnessy dropped a line that froze the tennis world. He called Alcaraz a player designed by artificial intelligence. Let that sink in. A strategist who spent a decade breaking down Djokovic, the most complete tactician ever, took one look at Alcaraz and concluded, there is no crack in the armor, no glitch to hack, no pattern to disrupt. The homework that dismantles every other legend falls flat against him. The Australian Open quarterfinal was the perfect case study. De Minaur walked onto Rod Laver Arena with a flawless plan. He had done the math. He memorized the algorithms. He forced himself to be the aggressor, refusing to be, in his own words, a punching bag for the elite. For a single set, the blueprint seemed to hold. De Minaur clawed his way back from a 3-love deficit. He was in the fight. He was dangerous. The Aussie crowd was losing its mind. And then, Carlos flipped the switch. In a heartbeat, it was lights out. The final scoreboard, 7-5, 6-2, 6-1. Doesn't even begin to show how badly the world number 6 was dismantled. De Minaur is now sitting at 0 wins and 6 losses against the Spaniard. Add in his record against Jannik, and he is 0 for 19 against the Big Two. But this loss signifies something deeper. He betrayed his natural instincts. He abandoned his own game to play high-risk tennis. He tailored everything to counter Alcaraz. And Carlos explained exactly why that backfired. When they play the top guys, they try to redline it. They get uncomfortable and rush, stepping way out of their zone. Alcaraz noted that we are seeing pros shank simple shots they would normally bury in their sleep. Basically, rivals study him so hard they forget who times they times are. They try to wear a mask, and that plays right into Carlos's hands. Novak Djokovic has had to swallow this bitter pill more than anyone. After falling to Carlos at the US Open semis, the 24-time major champion confessed something startling. They are just superior, he admitted. Beating Sinner or Alcaraz in a best-of-5 war, that is going to be a massive mountain for me to climb. That is the GOAT, by every metric, admitting that 2 kids in their early 20s have forced him to rethink his entire existence on the court. Even Jannik Sinner, the one man who can actually trade blows with Carlos, sees the writing on the wall. After his own US Open heartbreak, Sinner didn't make excuses. I was an open book, he said. I need to start risking losses just to learn how to be impossible to read. Sinner's record against the rest of the world since 2024? 109 wins, 4 losses. His record against Alcaraz in that same window? 1 win, 7 losses. The second best player on earth destroys everyone else, but looks helpless against one rival. Rafael Nadal explained why. Carlos is magic. He is chaos, Nadal said. He hits a ceiling that Jannik sometimes just cannot touch. He pulls off the impossible and makes human errors. But that unpredictability? That is the weapon. Most players are creatures of habit. They have tells. If you do your homework, you can exploit them. Alcaraz has an arsenal. In a split second, he can blast a winner, feather a drop shot, rush the net, or grind you into dust until you break. Mats Wilander, a legend who boasts 7 major titles to his name, saw Carlos Alcaraz play at Roland Garros and dropped a quote that feels eerily prophetic today. The moment that kid stops chasing the highlight reel and just plays, he becomes unbeatable. Well, that moment finally arrived at the Australian Open in 2026, where Alcaraz turned into a machine, tearing through the draw without dropping a set before the final. He finally smashed through that quarterfinal ceiling that had been haunting him. He survived a grueling 5-hour war against Zverev on cramping legs, then dismantled Djokovic to become the youngest player ever to seal a career Grand Slam. Now the rest of the tour is facing a nightmare scenario. If dissecting Alcaraz's game fails, what options are even left? De Minaur tried redlining his aggression and just sprayed errors everywhere, while Sinner tried mixing up his patterns and still got crushed in the US Open final. Even Djokovic threw his entire tactical playbook at the kid, only to admit later that beating Alcaraz in a best-of-5 format might just be a pipe dream. Alexander Zverev perfectly embodied that sheer hopelessness during their semi-final clash in Melbourne. After losing to a guy who could barely walk, Zverev snapped at the chair umpire, accusing officials of protecting the stars. But that rage wasn't just about one match. It was the crushing realization that no amount of prep, strategy, or even physical advantage is enough to take this kid down. During a presser in Doha, Alcaraz finally addressed the elephant in the room. The entire field is dissecting his every move like it is a science project. Coaching teams are burning the midnight oil, crafting anti-Alcaraz blueprints. Yet instead of sweating the target on his back, Carlos just smiles. "I only see my own flaws," he told reporters. "I am still growing up, still learning. There are parts of my game I need to sharpen. The guy everyone is trying to solve still thinks he is a work in progress." That statement should send shivers down the spine of every pro on tour. A sentiment de Minaur echoed perfectly after getting bounced in the quarters. When asked what he would change, he almost bit the reporter's head off before dropping his guard. "I don't know, mate. You tell me, what could I possibly do?" That is the crux of it. Nobody has a clue. Alcaraz knows they are obsessed with his game, yet they remain completely baffled. De Minaur threw the kitchen sink at him and still got obliterated. Is there anyone out there who can actually solve this puzzle? Smash that like button and subscribe if you want more brutal tennis truths.